Alright, now we begin talking about Alexander the Great. Alright, so the age of Greece is over, and it's now going to be taken over by a strong power to the north of it by the name of Macedonia. And Philip II is going to be the first to unite all of Greece. Okay? So we're taking place after the Peloponnesian War, after those two city-states tried to call each other, Philip II is going to establish his power by conquering Greece. He's an accomplished assassin who's killed off other competitors for the throne. And when he's captured by the Thebans in 369-367, alright, he learns Greek military tactics there. King Philip II was the father of Alexander the Great. His mother was Olympias, who had dreams of a much better future for her child in her womb. This is the Greek world in 363 BC. Alright, when Philip's death, Alexander inherits the throne at the age of 20. He was taught by Aristotle, the philosopher. And the Greeks revolt. They don't want to be ruled by the Macedonians anymore. And so Alexander makes an example out of Thebes by crushing its army and sells the people into slavery and burns the city to the ground. Well, that fixed that problem. Well, next, after reconquering Greece, Alexander sets his sight on Persia, and he starts a campaign after he dealt with all the Greek revolts. He would find himself at odds, though, with Darius III of Persia. So, between the two, Alexander's army was different from the Persian army. Alexander's army was small, very well trained, and fiercely loyal to him. The Persian army was large, very disorganized, and no common language. Lots of different languages. So some of his major battles. In 334 BC, we have the Battle of the Granicus River. Darius didn't take Alexander seriously, and he sends a general in his stead. Alexander actually comes very close to dying in the battle, but he overcomes his injuries and is victorious. We have the Battle of Issus in 333 BC. Darius is now angered and will confront him at the battle. He still doesn't take Alexander seriously and brings his own family to the battle site. What an idiot. So Darius loses the battle and flees and leaves his family behind. Alexander captures them as a prisoner's of war, but treats them very well. He even takes one of the daughters as one of his wives, helping settle tensions with the kingdom. Alright, Alexander's famous conquest. We have the siege at Tyre. Alexander, all he wanted to do was go to the sacrifice to the gods for his victories on the island. Well, the Tyrians refused to let him into the city. They thought he was going to take over the city, so they would not let him sacrifice at the temple. Well, this ticks him off, and he decides to conquer the island anyway. But what's incredible is that he creates a mole out of rocks and crosses over with his men on the island. So he's able to take Persia, and he begins his empire. He actually burns the Persian capital Persepolis to the ground. And as he pushes on his campaign into India, this is where it begins to turn sour. His soldiers begin doubting him. Okay, you'll notice here is his campaign. All over. Creating one of the largest known empires of the world. Took him, good 8 years to conquer all that land. Bucephalus was the name of Alexander the Great's horse. It was a wild stallion. None of Philip II's other men were able to tame the horse, but Alexander was able to. According to the story, Alexander's horse was afraid of its own shadow, so he created blinders for his horse. Well, Alexander's horse Bucephalus will die at the Battle of Hydaspes, and that is the last battle Alexander ever fights in. The army revolts. The soldiers are tired of fighting and want to return home to see family and friends. He tries to persuade the army to continue on, but the men want to return to Macedonia. Alexander becomes sick and dies. Many have debated whether his death was intentional or natural, but he dies before seeing him have a chance to actually control his empire. Poison is a possible answer because troops are ready to return home. And malaria is also another possibility because of the climate in India. Mosquitoes are present in high numbers. It could have been that. I think it was most likely poison. Some argue that he could have died from a sexually transmitted disease like syphilis. He did have multiple wives, so who knows? Alright. And so Alexander's empire had no successor. So it was broken up into 5 different kingdoms. We got the kingdom of Lysimachus, the kingdom of Cassander, the kingdom of Antigonus, the kingdom of the Ptolemy, and the kingdom of Seleucus. Okay?